these boomers are taking all of their greed to the grave with them. I started thinking about this earlier, and I just want to really kind of maybe at least give my thoughts on this. Now, during, let's say, the 60s, 70s, 80s, well, let's say 50s, 60s, 70s, maybe 60s, 70s, I'd say. There was a lot of challenges people were facing, obviously. A lot of things they had to pull through. This is life, right? There's never going to be a perfect scenario where their generation just had everything given to them. But the problem is they started basically all this crap back when things were good, or at least things were better, right? So you could afford to buy a house, you could afford to have bigger families, you can afford to do things. But what they figured out is that, hey man, if we want to live as luxurious as we do, if we want things that we can't necessarily afford right now, we can just take it from the future. And that has been the scheme. Essentially, this is kind of like the oldest scheme is taking from somebody, but I feel like what is so sick is like now, right? Now that they've stolen all of the hard work, the jobs, and made everything literally impossible. Now they use their logic back in 1970 or 1960 on us, where it's like, dude, I used to work hard, man. This is what we did, man. We did all this and we did this and I did this back when I was, and they'll just never understand. They'll just never understand because they don't have to go through this crap right now. They're not doing all this, right? And it's like, we're not just gonna do this, right? So it never makes sense to steal from the future, but they did. And now we're supposed to come in and clean up the mess, right? We're supposed to work 3 jobs, work 120 hours a week just to get ahead and do all this. Why? Because realistically, we're like basically subsidizing them, right? Like our hard work, right? It doesn't go to us. It goes to basically the boomers or the older generation, a lot of it. And they're already pretty good, right? We're like basically padding their wallets, right? When we purchase things, when we buy stuff, when we use their services. And it's like, dude, you can go screw off, man. I'm not gonna do all that because you're already gaslighting me. You already make me feel like crap. Oh man, you didn't upgrade your car, man. This is just a regular car. Dude, it's just a car. But see, they want to tell us how lazy we are and how unmotivated and all this other crap. But the system's rigged and you rigged it. That's why I don't listen to these people anymore. I don't really listen to anybody unless I can put my stamp on it. And then we have this thing where it's like, oh, listen to your elders. I realized if I listened to my elders, I would have been in way more debt than I would have been now. And I would have been miserable trying to satisfy whatever they have, right? Because they think, right, oh, well, if I stole from the future, maybe you can steal from the future and you should be able to have that 5-bedroom house and those 6 BMWs I had because you're young and you're working. They're like, it's so disconnected that like it's gonna crumble, right? Because for one, I'm not doing this crap for much longer, but you really think Gen Z is really gonna keep padding your wallets? I think this is why we're going through so much hell now, because they realize we're not paying for that crap. I'm not gonna pay for your dumbass memberships and all this stupid subscriptions that really, and then you got to think too, back in the day, you could just buy something, right? There wasn't always this pervasiveness of trying now there were scams and stuff. I'm not blind, but what I'm saying is it wasn't as mental as it is now. And I would maybe even claim that mental slavery is worse than physical slavery. And they expect, because, oh man, I had to work hard and put in labor and stuff. Okay, but we still got to do that. And now they're hitting us with all these mental gymnastics, all these ailments. They're trying to get you on pills. They're trying to confuse your mind so you don't even know what reality is. And yet we're supposed to be okay with this, even grateful that we have an opportunity to work for these people. And I just think to myself, like, why do I give a shit? Why do I care what some older generation thinks about what I do? You know, I feel like that was a lot of my problem. A lot of my problems came from trying to impress people that, you know, maybe had a decent intention in mind for me, but they knew nothing about me. They claim they did. I realized my whole life I've been lied to. Everybody thinks they know what's best for you, you know? Oh, here, do this, you'd be good for this, do this, do this. I'm at a point now where I'm just going to look out for myself. I don't need your advice. Like, I can even speak for myself, my father. I feel like there's a disconnect because he wants me to look up to him. He wants me to see him and see success. I don't. I'm sorry, I don't. And that'll never change. And I just don't respect how you stole your money. Now, he made great money, you know, a lot of money. But I just don't care. I just don't care, buddy. And even for my mom, I just like, well, she wasn't doing successful financially, but I just don't care. Whatever your, I guess, what's the word? I don't want to say acquisitions, but whatever your plans were that you succeeded in and you got in your businesses, I don't give a shit. I just don't. So you trying to hold that over my head goes nowhere, right? I don't give a shit that you had a family. I just don't care anymore. Now, what is there anything that the boomers or my father could do, or anybody, that would impress me? Maybe freedom, right? If I felt like, now, I mean, they do have freedom and stuff, but I don't know. Maybe there is nothing. But I can tell you for sure, these people will never stop until they're gone. I mean, not like that, but I'm saying the people who have power, these older people, they're going to run it up because they know it's going to collapse, right? This was never meant to last. But the fact that it went from working to completely ruining your life, this whole system, it just, I mean, honestly, it actually makes sense, right? Because we all knew this was not sustainable. I just don't know where we go from here, right? Because where does this go? Basically, what I imagine, they're going to run it up so much that they're going to basically have to give us universal income. And it's so funny because they want us to work so hard, but they could have given us universal income. You know, at first I was like, dude, you know, I can't believe they even brainwashed me years, even now to some degree. We're all part of this BS system. But I feel like I was, for a while, the person that was like, dude, hard work works, man. You can figure this out, man. You can really do it. That's not really true, man. You can have great ideas and still never get the leverage because it doesn't make the certain person money. So they just won't help. Like, there is not really an outlet for you. Because I realize if you have something that truly benefits you, there is no reason for someone to help you, right? They get nothing out of it. So they already know that the system's collapsing. What they're going to do about it, I believe, is just run up the numbers, give us universal income, and then say how they fix the world, because that's their next scheme, right? Their next scheme is to basically fix the world's problems, and then they can go to the grave being like, oh, look how good of a people we are. You know? I'm just bored of it, man. Like I said, I don't think... Now, see, look, the boomers may be on to what's going on. But the next generation down, I don't think they even realize. Right? Like, they're kind of still in the cogs. They're kind of still mostly reliant, because for them, the system has kind of worked, but it hasn't been great. So I don't think they realize my generation and the generation after me, or I guess, yeah, after me. Yeah, okay. I don't think they realize how quickly this is going to change, right? There is going to be no pensions. Well, there aren't none now, but I meant to say Social Security. There will be nothing for you. And I just think sometimes I'm like, these people are not prepared. Because when I pay off my debt, I'm literally never getting in debt again. Like, never. And I don't think they really know how this is going to lean. This is going to lean towards, like, it's going to have to be universal income, because there's just going to be no money to be had. That's also another thing. Their greed is so shocking that basically there is no more money left. I actually think that's also partly why all this crap is happening with Venezuela and Greenland and all this other BS. It's even BS I gotta even bring that up. But I think there's just no money. And they just won't print more money. Because if they print money, then people will be free. Maybe not free, but they'll have some leverage again. But there's no money. There's no money to be had. Because they don't want us to make money. That's the sickest part. The boomers don't want us to have money. But they want us to work hard. Make that make sense. You want us to work hard as hell, but you don't want to give us anything. The biggest gaslighters. And I'm at a point now where you can go fuck yourself. I ain't giving you my money. In fact, I'm going to actively not give you money. And I'm going to actively pay off my debt. Just to be a real fucking nuisance. You know, this was my goal anyways, but I kind of just had a different approach. My first goal was like, all right, well, I'm just going to buy as much crypto as I can to shove it to these guys. That didn't work the best. But what I should have done was just kept my freedom and compound on my power. I mean, I was in some degree, but I got carried up in greed. And there was no money to be made. Now, there is money to be made, but it's just not the way you think. If you pay off your debt, that is money to be made. Which is weird. That is actually really the only way to make money right now, is to pay off your debt. It's so bizarre, but it's true. And that's also the other thing. If we don't have any money to spend, we're just going to pay off debt. And once debt gets paid off, then what? Like, this system doesn't make sense to me. It's very bizarre, very weird. I don't know. Peace.